Robert, welcome to the Easy Conversations podcast. I'm really excited to have you on. It's been a long time making, and obviously, we've had our share of adversity trying to get up here and set this up, but it's probably in line with your story, right? And what
Pretty
we're
much.
going to talk about today, everything you've had to overcome. So it's only fitting that we had to overcome some challenges to get on this call, but looking forward to sharing your story and understanding what's allowed you to stick with it despite all the ups and downs you've had to experience. But before we get into that, I do want to give you an opportunity to share with the listeners a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Okay. First, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. So I always start by saying that I'm a competitor. Like it starts there. And where did that stem from? So growing up, I was the youngest of seven, and they were all athletes. My siblings, my parents were pretty active as well. And for whatever reason, I was the different one. So like I was short, my brothers were tall and muscular. Like I was short and skinny, and I had a bad stutter. So I was constantly getting
Mm.
teased for that. And it's ironic that I'm a speaker now, but I was petrified of speaking because I just couldn't get the words out. And just having that chip on my shoulder because I'm like, why are they tall? Why are they muscular? Why are they excelling in all this stuff? And why am I like the literal black sheep of the family? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And so I spent like the first probably 10, 12 years of my life thinking that there was something wrong with me. So
Mm.
as I started to grow, started to hit puberty and all that, my genetics finally caught up to my drive. And through that process, one of my track coaches, when I was a freshman, he told me like I didn't have what it took to do the event I wanted to do, which was the high jump.
Mm.
Because again, at the time, I was 5'4", 88 pounds. So was he wrong? He wasn't wrong, like at that moment. But I'm a coach myself, and not everybody comes in as a freshman phenom. So they have their aspirations. No, I might have my doubts, but I don't know. I don't know if they're cut out for that. But you don't know. It's like you encourage. But he told me I didn't have what it took, and I took that. I was like, game on. And I share that because people get told things and they just run with it. Oh, so and so
Yeah.
said this, and the doctor said this, and therapist said this, and they just take that and just run with it. But people have to realize that at the end of the day, you have choices. Like I could have
Mm.
chose to listen to the coach and went and did a different event, or I said, okay, I'm going to learn everything I can about this event. And when I hit my eventual growth spurt, like I said, because my dad and my brothers are all over 6 foot, I don't think I'm going to stay in the fives. So eventually, when that happens, I'll be ready to meet the moment.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And what I'm hearing from you is because you started off, let's just say for terms of this conversation, a little bit behind, right?
Yes.
Like you said, looking up to your siblings, you felt like you were behind. So you had to figure out a way to catch up in different ways, which is probably the mental side of things and the drive, as you shared. Now, once you were able to build that muscle and the physical aspects caught up, do you feel like having that mental like framework or the mindset around being driven then just exponentially helped your growth and how you were able to tackle life?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the first real letdown was once my genetics caught up. I did end up leaving school with 5 records, and I had my eyes set on the Olympics. And now I don't know if I would have made it, but I was knocking on the door of the trials at least. And I ended up injuring myself. So at first, for college, now God rest his soul, like he wasn't wrong, but like my dad saw where the world was going with computers. And he wanted me to go into computer engineering. Like he had an engineering degree himself. And like I didn't really want to do that. But I appeased him because I wasn't really in school for school. It's like I was in school
Right.
to run track and make it to the Olympics. So then I ended up getting injured, and I bounced back from it, but in the nationals the next year, I blew my knee again. And so it was at
Mm.
that moment where I knew that the Olympic dream was dead. It's like, I'm not going to be able to put, because my knee's been compromised and I can't take it anymore. And it hit me. It hit me deep, like deep. Like I was on that mission for a long time. And now the mission's over. And I let it distract me from what I wanted to do. Like I was speaking with someone earlier today about mission, because a lot of veterans, a lot of Olympians,
Mhm.
like once they retire, then it's like, now what? And I was in that
Mhm.
place of now what? So to answer your question, once I step back into who I am, which is a competitor, like I always ask people on my podcast, who are you at your core? Right? If you take away
Mhm.
all the hats, what's left? But like in a lot of
Yeah.
people, as I said, when they retire, they go into this depression because they put their identity into their career, right? And so like your career is what you do. I'm like, who are you? So like when I retire, I'm not gonna be like the what am I gonna do? I'm a competitor. I'm gonna find things to compete in. So that's how I'm gonna spend my post-work years. I don't know exactly what that's gonna be, but it's gonna be, I don't know, maybe I join a pickleball league, maybe I join a bowling league. I'm gonna compete in
Mhm.
something because at my core, that's me. And I think a lot of people don't know who they are at their core. Because again, on my podcast, it's very free flowing, just like this is.
Yeah.
And so I had to start telling the guests ahead of time, so while I was doing my intro, they could think about what they wanted to say. Because a lot of people
Yeah.
really can't answer that question. You strip away all the
Yeah.
hats, what's left?
And I agree with you. I think even in the therapy world, I see this quite a bit where people are having that existential crisis, which they will refer to as midlife, or even people that are post retirement trying to really figure out, okay, what is my purpose now that my career is over or now that I've retired? Because, like you said, the identity is tied to what people are doing, not
Yes.
necessarily who they're being. And that is who you are can expand in all outside of work, family, perhaps even into the community, and that can help you navigate life in terms of this is who I want to be. Now, after the injury, how were you able to shift your perspective in life and have that level of acceptance that, okay, I had this dream, I was pursuing this, that's no longer feasible. So, how do I now find purpose for myself outside of being a competitor? How do I direct this energy into something that's giving me meaning now?
I was 19 when it happened. And it wasn't until I was 30 until I was able to actually get over it. It's because that was my mission. It's like I broke up with someone because she said I was training too much. I was all right. Well, you ain't the right one then, because I'm on these tracks. This train is not stopping. So it wasn't. So I think I just buried myself in work because I was managing restaurants at the time, and for a minute there, I was working 2 full-time jobs. So that just became my focus. But I remember I was 30, and I was venting because the night before I had a dream that I was competing again, and like that whole day I was just salty, and so I was venting to one of the waitresses, and she's, "You really need to let that go." She's like, "That was a long time ago." She's like, "Why are you still letting it hurt you?" And I was like, you know what? She's right. So she's
Mhm.
absolutely right. And
Yeah.
how I was able to really get over it was I started coaching again. So once I
Mhm.
started coaching, now I'm like, now it's my mission. Yeah, maybe I fell short of mine, but I can help somebody else reach theirs. And so
Yeah.
now that shifted for me feeling bad about not doing it myself. I'll see how many of these kids I can coach to become division champions, class champions, breaking school records, breaking state records, qualifying for nationals, things of that nature. Like two of the guys that I work with, high school age, that they high jump, and they were both like, they're in different divisions, and they were both class and division champions. It's like, and just knowing that I played a role in helping them see the vision, helping them with their work ethic and their discipline, it's like that settles the soul. So I think when people are going through stuff, it's good to talk about it, because a lot of people bottle it up. And the more you talk
Yeah.
about it, the more you get comfortable with your past and things that you've gone through, mistakes you have made. Like the more you talk about it, you can start to resolve those inner thoughts, those inner demons. And that's once I started talking more about my failures as an athlete, I started realizing I accomplished so much. It's like when I actually peeled back the layers, I was like, I didn't know I won that many championships. Like, I didn't know I had that many medals. Like I didn't know I impacted that many people because I was so stuck on the hurt of not making it to the
Mhm.
Olympics. So it's like once you break free of what you can't control, like you can't turn back the clock and qualify. It can't happen. Like
Right.
I had the dream, I fell short, is what it is. Time to move on. So now I
Yeah.
pour into my track team and the other athletes that I work with.
Yeah. And even if within that, what I'm hearing from you, and I've had to tap into that at times, is we become so fixated on one specific outcome. And sometimes that brings about tunnel vision. You sometimes need to zoom out a little bit and see it from a different lens or a different perspective that,
Yes.
as you're sharing, you're still contributing. Yes, you're not competing yourself, but you're enabling others to do, and you have a part to play in their success and what they've been able to achieve. So, sometimes just that shift in perspective can make a huge difference. Now, as part of your story, the other thing you shared is the kidney donation.
Yes.
Are you able to talk about what led you to that and how is that part of your growth?
Yeah. So in 2009, I actually had a knee injury first, and that's
Mm.
pretty much what shaped everything. But so that was in July of 2009. So in December of 2009. So now I'm just starting to move around again because originally I was told I'd never run or jump again. So I was just starting to move around. And then, like I said, it's Christmas. So my sister calls me and I'm thinking she's calling, talk to my kids. I talk to her kids, talk all those Christmas pleasantries. But she had a very somber tone in her voice. So I was like, oh, what's going on? And she said she had pain in her right leg and it was bad enough to where she went to the emergency room. And so when they did the
Mhm.
blood testing and the urine testing and all that, they found her kidneys were at 10% function and that she was going to need a transplant. So I was like, okay. So I looked at the situation. Like as I said earlier, I'm the youngest of seven. And at that time, I was in the best shape of all of us. And I fully controlled my schedule. So I was having my own business pretty much. So if I had to take time off, I'm not going to lose anything. So like they would have to take time off or use PTO and all that other stuff. I said, so let's start with me. She's my half sister. So we didn't know how the match was going to be.
Yeah.
So we get the first round of testing. They come back and say there's a 6 scale, and we were a 2 out of 6 for a match. And so I'm like, that doesn't sound good to me. I don't want to go through this and then have her body reject it. The other side to that was that's selfish. It's like you can just do it and then we live with whatever the result is. If her body rejects it, her body rejects it. But at least we
Yeah.
tried. Because at the end of
Right.
it, not knock on wood, no, at the end of it, I'm gonna be fine. So it's like
Right.
this can potentially help her. The only hard part of the whole thing was so now I said she called in December of 2009, Christmas Day. We were fully cleared in April of 2010. We didn't have the surgery until May 26th of 2011. So
Wow.
13 months went by. That was the hardest part because then you start seeing stuff, you start reading stuff, you start hearing stuff. And so I was like trying to block all of that stuff out because she ended up getting sick with a virus. So we couldn't do the surgery till the virus was fully out of her system. And yeah, and it took over a year. So we finally had the transplant and a big mindset shift for me. It was 3 days prior. I don't know why it kicked in 3 days prior, probably because that's when the prep started. Because you basically do like a colonoscopy prep ahead of the donation. And I felt my mortality. I think really for the first time,
Mm.
and I've actually had some near death experiences, but that was the first time that I actually
Yeah.
felt it. And I made the decision like after the surgery, you know what? I'm not going to do things I don't want to do anymore. I'm like, I'm going to stop caring what people think about me and I'm going to be unapologetically me. So I'm not dancing around. I'm not mincing my words. I'm going to say it how I feel it. If it offends people, that's a you thing. So I don't go out
Yeah.
of my way to hurt people. You know what I mean? But if I say something that I feel is a truth that you need to hear, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
So through that process, I myself was fine. Like my sister had to stay in the hospital a couple months. Like I came home in 2 days. I was back. This was stupid, but I was back teaching my classes in 4 days with a fresh wound right through my abdomen because that's how they removed the kidney. I was sitting down with a pillow tucked against my stomach, and I was sliding around the gym in an office chair. But the show had to go on. So at that time, I didn't have a staff at this point. So if I take time off, like they're not going to pay me. If they don't pay me, I can't pay my bills.
Right.
So I had to get right back out there. And again, it goes back to the doctors saying XYZ, the physical therapist is saying XYZ. I'm like, I got stuff to do. So I got stuff
Mhm.
to do. And the mind controls the body. It's like a lot of people don't realize that the mind controls the body. So whatever you feed it, your body's going to prepare you for that. And so
Yeah.
I was just like giving myself healing vibes. Like I'm going to come back from this,
Yeah.
back to the knee injury when I was told I was never going to run a jump again. I said, how do you know? You're not in charge of my healing. I'm like, you're in
Yeah.
charge of putting my knee back together. You have no idea how I'm going to come back from this. And so every day,
Mhm.
I never let that doubt enter my brain. It was always when I run again, when I jump again. And I got to the point
Right.
to where I actually competed in track again. And it took me 7 years to get back on the track, to be fair, because that
Yeah.
was a devastating injury. It was like 2 solid years of just straight grind rehab to get to make that full comeback. But I competed on the
Mhm.
track again. I'm undefeated in the high jump. That's the event that it happened in with 16 gold medals, 22 total. And it was just unreal. But like I had to complete the comeback for the story to really be told in full. But yeah, so in the middle of all of that, I donated a kidney to my sister.
Wow. Yeah. And it didn't end there, right? So if you add another layer to this, you ended up losing everything.
Yes.
So what was that chapter of your life like, and what was the catalyst behind that, the losses, and how did you come out of it?
Yeah, so this is like a layered story. So post COVID, right? So now I had my own gym. We were flying high. Life was good. Like I ended up closing that gym and I went back to renting again. So this was actually prior to COVID. So then COVID
Mhm.
hits and then it just completely decimated my business. Like it was bad. Like I lost
Yeah.
tons of money. It went from making over six figures to like barely 28 grand. It was definitely not fun times. I decided that I didn't want to run my own business again. I said, I want to find a business that I can manage and then let somebody else deal with all the officey stuff. Because I always say I suck at the business side of business. It's like
Yeah.
I'm very good on the planning end. Like I can help someone build a brand and all this other stuff, but like doing it for myself is, I don't know, whatever reason I suck at doing it myself.
Yeah.
So now I get in the situation that I wanted. I was managing a place. I was training my clients there as well. I wasn't being micromanaged, right? Life was good, but I wasn't getting paid, right? So how this scenario went, this is where because I'm an optimist, right? I'm an optimist through and through. Even through the toughest of times, I'm like, we're going to come out of this. Okay. So
Yeah.
So through COVID, so now while we were closed, the landlord was still charging me rent. And I didn't realize that. I figured it would just be a given that I'm not in the gym. So
Yeah.
rent is accumulating and he throws this on me all in one shot. I'm like, it's 15 grand. Like I don't have that just laying around, especially now. Like I lost
Right.
50 clients. That's a
Yeah.
significant drop. Significant.
Yeah.
So we came up with a plan and shame on me for not getting it in writing. That's one of the first ways that I got out of this was the self accountability because I could have easily
Mhm.
pointed the finger at him and been like, you screwed me, you this, you that. But I was like, I should have never let it get that far. So the deal was
Mhm.
that I was not gonna build my gym because and it made sense. Like he didn't want me taking leads from that business and funneling them into my business. So it made sense. So he's don't build yours. And I was gonna generate, I was gonna I put together a program to where we would generate what I owed him. And we would do it that way. So now you'll get the money. We're just gonna do it a different way. And, and we were supposed to merge the businesses, and then he was gonna cut me a check each week. I was like, all right, cool. That's exactly what I want. So within, I want to say 7 weeks, I generated 24K and I only owed him
Yeah.
15K. So I'm like, all right, it's time for us to talk about merging the businesses and get me on the books. It's like, because with me not building my business, as I lost clients, because people don't stay forever. So as I was
Right.
losing clients, there was no way for me to replace them. Right. So my income was getting lower and lower with each passing month. So I'm like, all right, come on, it's time for us to merge these businesses. And he would say just enough to keep me on the hook. So
Yeah.
because I was in the situation that I wanted, I'm managing a place, but I don't have to deal with any of the back end stuff. That stuff is all done. So I'm like, if I can just get paid, this will be ideal. It'll be totally
Mhm.
ideal. So now I'm getting a repo notice for my car. I'm telling him, like, I bring in the notice. I'm like, dude, like, we got to do something here. I'm like, because I need revenue. And so I end up losing my car. I did get one of those $5,000 stimulus checks. So I was able to use that to get my car back. So
Yeah.
I was able to get it back. But then that was short lived. And now my landlord's blowing up my phone, and as he should, but I just wasn't able to pay him. So I had 5 children. So now it's like I'm feeling like a total failure because like they want to do stuff and I don't have the money to do it. Things were slowly starting to fall apart. And I always present in a positive light, but they had no idea that I was struggling inside, like struggling very bad. I didn't know if he doesn't pay me, what are we going to do? Like I was at that place. Like, what are we going to do? But the optimist in me was like, no, this is going to work out. So now I've generated over $80,000. This guy would be a fool to not keep me. It's like
Yeah.
we're bringing in money like this. I want to
You're right.
say I just about tripled the clientele in 10 months. Tripled it, right? We cleaned the place
Yeah.
top to bottom. I started to learn all the members' names. The vibe in there was so different. And like former members had actually come back because people were texting them saying, hey, you got to check this place out now. So the
Yeah.
situation was there. But then, like I said, with
Mhm.
him dragging his feet on the merging of the businesses. So this is in December now. I'm like days away from eviction. And I had lost the car. So I'm like riding my bike and taking Ubers everywhere. And so we sit down for this meeting. And he was like, he has his paper. He's like, you still owe me 15 grand. I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, we generated that. That was for last year. I'm like, I'm not supposed to be paying rent. That's why I'm not building my business. And he's, oh,
Right.
it's not my problem that you're not building your business. I was like, that was part of the stipulation. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's, oh, I never said that.
Yeah.
And then, so in that moment, I'm like, this he's got zero intention of paying me, like none. So
Yeah.
just think about this. Why would I agree to not build my business, right? In lieu of running this place in place of
Right.
paying rent, right? Why would I agree to pay rent and run this place for free while not building my business? Like that case doesn't make an ounce of sense. It's like I'm not an idiot, right? I may not be the smartest guy, but I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
So now it's like I'm days away from eviction, and we go to court. And thankfully, my landlord actually gave us 6 more weeks. But even still, in those 6 more weeks, I still have no revenue. I still have no money.
Yeah. Right.
So the day came where I'm at the facility, and so now I'm out of the house. I sent my daughter to stay with my mom. My 3 younger kids are with their mom, and my oldest son, he was off on his own. So it's like, all right, the kids are at least in a stable situation now. What the hell am I gonna do? So
Mhm.
we moved out of the house, and then I checked into a hotel because, like, I was literally homeless, and just my world had just crashed, absolutely
Mhm.
crashed. And so I'm sitting
Yeah.
there, and as I'm currently homeless. He sends me a message telling me that somebody's coming in at 5:30 to sign up. No, how are you? Do you need anything? You realize I just lost my house. I lost my car.
Yeah.
And it's initially, it was like, because you didn't pay me. But I had to put that on me. It's like I went into a deep, dark place. So I had to pick up the phone and text my mom, can I come home? At 48 years old, you get that stigma. You get a loser living in your mother's basement, right? So there's that. So after a few weeks, I was like, you know what? I got to get back to me. It's like I'm constantly
Yeah.
telling people how you beat depression is with purpose, right? And I had lost my purpose. Like I was gonna pivot away from fitness altogether. And I was in week 3 of a 16-week program. I was gonna shift into digital marketing. And then just as I'm sitting there in class after class, and I'm giving you a very long answer, right? How class after
No, that's
class,
okay.
I was like, I don't want to do this. And I had
Yeah.
paused my podcast because my podcast is about positivity. And here I was in
Yeah.
a dark place. So I can't show up and not be me. So I paused it.
Yeah.
So when I restarted it, my very first guest helped start to light the fire. Excuse me. She was talking about how she moved from Vancouver, Canada to Hollywood because she wanted to into that industry. She said, I knocked on every single studio door until I got a yes. And like that one sentence, it doesn't seem so profound, but that was exactly what I needed to hear. I'm sitting here pointing the fingers, just burying myself in busy work, and I'm not taking any steps to better myself, to better my situation. So I went up to the local
Hmm.
high school where I actually went, and the guy who coached me is still coaching. He's been at 33 years, so he's still coaching. And I just asked him if he needed any help with his jumpers or his sprinters. And so I started coaching. That very first practice relit the fire. Just pouring into the students, watching them receive the information, watching them apply. I was like, this is my zone of genius. This is where I belong. Like, I don't belong in
Yeah.
digital marketing. I belong right here. And then once I took my eyes off of the darkness, positive snowball started happening where I met the owner of the gym where I am now. Like, I met him, we hit it off. My podcast right now is booking into May of next year. The podcast is going. I published a book about everything that I've been through, but more importantly, the steps I took to get there. So it's not
Yeah.
just something that I read somewhere and I'm talking on. It's like, these are the steps, because people always ask me, like, how do you stay so positive? Like, how do you stay happy all the time? This is why, because life has tried to break me 100 different times, and
Hmm.
it can't. It can't. So the purpose of the book isn't about me selling books. Like, there's
Hmm.
somebody out there that's stuck in a rut, and this is a literal how-to guide to get out of that rut.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and thank you for sharing all that. And a couple of things that I want to emphasize from the story you just shared. One is sometimes we fall in places where we're trying to do something or live someone else's dream, or we feel like, oh, this is what we need to do to achieve success, as you were trying to seek it out through digital marketing, but then realizing, no, this is not where I want to be, in the sense that it doesn't light that fire under me. It's not bringing out that passion in me. I don't feel like I'm contributing the way I know I can. So, with that being said, I think it's also recognizing that sometimes you have to listen to that voice inside of you that's sometimes they'll whisper and sometimes they'll start screaming that, hey,
Yes.
you need to make a change. And then the other piece, this is something I was navigating yesterday and just thinking about, so I want to test with you, is that sometimes things can get tough and the human experience, at the end of the day, we are human. So it is okay to perhaps sit with it and be like, you know what? I just need a break too. I can't be fighting and hustling all the time. As much as you need to have that spirit within you, it's okay to take a break and let yourself off the hook, because the other extreme is then you can beat yourself up and be in shame that I should be doing more. I should be doing more. It's yes, you can be doing more, but you have to pace yourself.
Yes.
So I don't know what your thoughts are around that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've been working pretty much 7 days a week for about 2.5 years now, but because I'm building something, it's like I'm building something that can't be taken away from me. And I'm launching actually this month. So I turned my book into a coaching program, and I'm going to help people who want to go to that next level, but they're afraid. And this program is going to help them get over that fear, because a lot, there's a difference between public speaking and storytelling, right? So like you,
Yeah.
you can get up on a microphone and just start talking, right? But when you story
Yeah.
tell, that's more so you're talking about experiences, things that you've gone through. But to your point, sometimes it's exhausting being on the go all day, every day. It is. So I don't really take days off, but I will take moments off.
Yeah.
I've canceled podcasts. I'd be like, you know what? I just can't do it today. I was like, I
Yeah.
need that mental break, or I'll come in. Like last night, I went to bed at like 6:30. 6:30 p.m. It's like that's super,
Yeah.
super early. It's like I'm up at 4:30 every Monday through Friday, but typically I'm in bed between 8:30. So to fall asleep at 6:30, my body was like, dude. And sometimes I'll text one of the other trainers to cover that first early morning class. I'm like, I need to sleep in a couple hours. So yes, as much as I do believe in the grind and the hustle, you also do have to listen to your body when it's like, bro, settle down.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I know there are things that you shared as you were sharing your story in different aspects of it and the different phases you had to overcome. But through it all, what have you learned and what can you share as wisdom with the audience as you've navigated all these different situations? What have you learned about yourself? But what have you also learned about what this world offers? Because people can look at it and be like, oh, the world is malevolent, it's evil, that guy who took advantage of you. And a lot of people can't recover from that. But then there's this whole aspect of finding meaning in suffering, because people do suffer a lot at times and they're able to find something through that suffering. So, what have you learned not only about yourself, but the world in general?
So I always use this analogy. I always say, if you are on fire, what would you want to happen? You would want someone to put the fire out, or you would put the fire out.
Yeah.
So what I learned is like I was in my own way, constantly in my own way. Like I'd start something, not finish it, start something, not finish it. And going back to what I said earlier, it's like I had a bunch of ideas, but I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have a
Mm.
purpose. So to say I wrote a book and I'm going to help people and all that. But I was like, I need something bigger than that. Like it's got to be bigger than that. And I was a guest on someone else's podcast, and I was talking about my father and his struggles with PTSD from Vietnam. And I was like, that's it. That's the niche. So with this program I'm going to be starting, we're going to be helping veterans tell their stories of PTSD, right? Because a lot of people struggle with telling their stories because they don't know how. Like they're focused on
And
what. Like with my knee story, that's not, people have knee surgery every day, every single day. So that's not the extraordinary part. It's just the fact that the doctor tried to put a diagnosis on me before we even had the surgery. And
Mhm.
let's just say I listened, right? Just say I listened and I heeded that. Like I said earlier, the mind controls the body. So if I got it into my mind, oh my God, I'm never going to run again. Then my brain's going to prepare my body for that reality. And I was like, absolutely not. It's like I spoke life into that moment. It was when I walk again, when I run again, and when I jump again. Because I came home and I had a wheelchair and a walker. So it's like I had to teach myself to walk again, teach myself to run
Yeah.
again, and then trust myself enough to compete again. So mastering your inner stories, you're prepared for any situation. As you're
Mhm.
talking to me, as you ask me questions, like I have an answer right in the chamber. It's like I'm ready to go. It's like
Yeah.
my stories are dialed in. The good, the bad, and
Yeah.
the ugly. It's like they're dialed in. So when I'm in any situation, I can connect with people because I'm in tune with that. To directly answer your question, you said, what did I learn? What I learned is pain. But it
Mm.
doesn't matter if it's the pain of grief, if it's the pain of an injury, if it's the pain of a cancer diagnosis, right? It doesn't matter. Every one of those scenarios, you have to go through and face it every single day, every day. In order, so for me to learn to walk again, I had to do stuff every single day. A woman that's 9 months
Mhm.
pregnant, she's got to wake up and deal with swollen feet, a sore back, a baby on a bladder, and a foot in her ribs. Like she has to deal with that reality every single day. So
Yes.
when we get off of the what and we start talking about the how, like, how are you getting through that every day? Like, how are you not
Mhm.
snapping at your children, being in so much pain?
Mhm.
It's like, how is taking care of your husband or whatever it is that you do? It's like, how do you get through every day dealing with that reality? That's the difference between speaking and storytelling. With mine, talking about that 2-year rehab, we could do an entire episode on just that story. But it's like I had to wake up with the reality that, yes, I may have been an All American athlete. Yes, I may have just won the Masters championships, but now we got to walk. That's my reality.
Mhm.
I need to walk. No wheelchair, no walker, no crutches. That's the first step.
Yeah.
And then once I lost all of those, then it's all right. We got to run again. That's the next mission. And I didn't worry about. I used to be able to slam dunk, and I used to be able to do this. The used to's don't matter, right? They don't
Right.
matter, right? What you used to do, what can you do now, and what can you improve on now to make yourself better
Mhm.
now?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And how do you, for yourself, navigate between confidence and arrogance? Because there's that fine line. But how do you keep yourself in check where you know, okay, this is me being confident, but not going too far and crossing the line to the other side?
It's funny because I was walking with a friend just before I came back home, and we actually talked about that. I said, see, the thing with confidence, like if you needed surgery, would you want your
Mhm.
doctor to be unsure?
No.
Absolutely not. So there's nothing wrong with being sure of yourself if you're lifting others up or you're healing others or performing surgery on others, saving lives. There's nothing wrong. Like when people come into my gym, I tell them I may not be the most knowledgeable trainer, but I am the best. Because whatever your goal is, I'm going to push you there. Whereas others,
Mhm.
like a perfect example, what we were doing an exercise, and one of the women comes over and she's like, "That's too heavy." I said, "You didn't even pick it up. Like, how do you know it's too heavy?" And like some other trainers would be like, "Oh, all right, go get something light." I'm like, "No, this is the task, right? Focus on the task." And she ended up
Right.
doing it for the entire round. I was like, "See, it's like you took one look and defeated yourself." So cocky, on the other hand, cocky brings people down. Cocky and arrogance,
Mm.
right? That's you're putting yourself above others. And that's something that when I was younger, absolutely. I'll admit I was arrogant. When I played basketball, I mentally assaulted my opponent. I was just in their head the entire time. I was not trying to build them up at all.
Right.
But now it's like I use my experience and I use my own drive to put it on to them. It's like you have to want
Mhm.
excellence. If you strive for excellence, you might hit elite. You might hit great. So if you just settle for I'm okay, that's what you're gonna get. It's like you want that pursuit of
Right.
excellence and then just see where you land.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think personally, what I realize is life experiences give you that humility so you can recognize that, yeah, part of my learning or whatever growth I've experienced or whatever talents I may have, I can uplift others with it and bring others along
Yes.
as opposed to trying to leave everyone in the dust or leaving them behind. That's not serving anyone, including yourself. I think there's a level of growth and maturity that even comes with serving others. And that I think comes with time and age and life experiences, as you can probably attest to as well, just going through your various experiences and realizing that, yeah, I can bring others along or try to leave them behind, but which one is serving you, including others?
Absolutely. Yeah. Want to give just a quick story. So myself and a few of my clients, we did this obstacle race in New Jersey. It's on a mountain. Like it's a pretty tough race, and it's about 14 miles. So now I had injured myself that February. The race was in April, and so now the three of them. haven't done that race before. And I've done it. I think that was my 16th time, I want to say. So I didn't want to not show up for them because I think if I decided to not go, they wouldn't do it. So I knew
Mhm.
I was going to have to face pain. I knew it was going to hurt. And how I got myself through it, what are the women right from the first climb was like, I can't do this. I'm like, yes, you can. She's like, oh my God. She's like, no, she's like, I can't do this. I said, because you're thinking about mile 14. We need to think about mile 1. Okay, let's get to mile 1 and then we'll reassess. So then we get to mile 2. Like by miles, like in between miles 3 and 4, we were on a pretty long climb. And again, she's, I can't do this. Like, she has some bass in her voice. So I'm like, all right, she's seriously feeling it. Let her get it out, and then I'll kick back in the coach mode. So she got it
Yeah.
out. She's just yelling, and I'm done. Like, at the next time we're down, I'm done. I'm like, let's get to mile 4 and reassess. I just repeated that. But for me, shifting my focus, going back to the mind controls the body, shifting my focus to getting her through the race, I was able to not feel my knee pain, and it's beautiful how the body works. So we're at mile 12 now. At mile 12, I am starting to feel my injury, and a black bear comes out of the woods. And with that adrenaline rush, now the bear was more scared than all of us were. The whole thing was shaking, but still, but just seeing it because the body has fight or flight. And it's like the body was
Yeah.
preparing me to run. So like literally the pain of both knees instantly went away when I saw that bear. And that's how powerful our minds are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great story. And what other practical tips and lessons do you have that you could share with us today in terms of, on top of everything you've shared already, is there anything else that you would like to add to the list?
To tell people to just stop putting yourself on the back burner. Like, I know a lot of moms do that. They're like, oh, I'm a mom now. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do. But your children see that. Well, I'm not claiming to be world's best dad. I got issues with a couple of my kids, but that's life. That's life. But they also see what you do. And I work hard. I work very hard. I work long days, and I don't complain about it. Is that I show up and I give the best version of myself. So what I tell people is you got to figure out what you want. Going back to when we first started, where I ask people, who are you? And they can't answer the
Mhm.
question. They have no idea. They just give what they do. Is no, at your heart of hearts, who is that person? Before you became a mom,
Mhm.
before you became an engineer, before you became an entrepreneur, you were someone. That's like who you started with, like 8-year-old you. Like, who was 8-year-old you? What did that person want? Because like I knew as a teenager, like I wanted to be a speaker. I knew I wanted to be into fitness. And then what happened? The world throws in interference. Oh, if you don't get a college degree, you're going to be flipping burgers or pumping gas. That's what they tell you. So I dropped out of
Yeah.
college because, again, like I mentioned, I wasn't there for school. I was there trying to make it to the
Yeah.
Olympics. And so I was working full time, managing restaurants, thinking I'm not going to be able to do any of these things. And so once I was finally getting my burnout in the restaurant industry, it's just, I just want to work with athletes. That's what I want to do. Like, I want to speak. The restaurant industry covered the speaking somewhat because we'd have team meetings and all staff meetings and things of that nature. But that was more like spitting policy. It wasn't really
Yeah.
inspiring people. Although I did try to make their jobs bigger than they thought it was. I'd be like, for the
Mhm.
servers, I'm like, yeah, you could think I'm just a waitress. For that person sitting at your table, like, you're starting their day. Now, this was when I worked in a breakfast place. I'm like, you are starting their day. And you can impact how good he or she feels when they're leaving. I was like, so it's bigger than you just slanging eggs and coffee. And same thing with the cooks. I'm like, this is art. This is art. Like, you want the perfect diamond marks on that steak. Like, you want the perfect color on the this or the perfect shape onto that. And you want the presentation on the plate to be top notch. I'm like, this is artistry here. It's like, you're not just a cook. So I was doing the things that I wanted to do, but just not realizing I could actually turn it into something. Going back to that stigma. So to tell people that, like, go back to what it is you really want to do, and start taking steps to get there. Because they think about the world we live in right now. You can go on TikTok without an ounce of talent and blow up a channel.
Yeah.
With zero skill, you can get on there. Some people get on there like pretty women. They'll just walk, smile at the camera, and be like, "Hi," and they have 1 million followers. So if you actually have a passion and a skill, you can turn it into something. You just have to take the steps to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what the underlying message, even in what you're sharing, is that pursuit of excellence again, right?
Yes.
So no matter what you're doing, pursue it with excellence, and then who knows where you'll land, right?
Yes.
And don't half-ass it.
Absolutely.
Robert, thank you so much for this conversation, coming on here, sharing your story and your wisdom. Really appreciate it. Now, how can listeners find out more about you, including your podcast? What are some ways they can do that?
Yes. So my podcast and book are both called Shut Up and Grind. So you can find the book on Amazon and the podcast is on pretty much all the platforms. Yeah, I broadcast that live also. So if people ever wanted to tune in live and ask questions during the show for either myself or my guest, they can do that on 2 of my Facebook pages and on my LinkedIn page. Again, you can just search for Robert B. Foster and you'll see my smiling face. And then my website is robertbfoster.com.
Awesome. We'll put all of that in the show notes, but thank you again, Robert, for the conversation. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you again for having me.